Who should you put your money on? Stock up for these 5 Bearcats. Did your favorite player make the list? We're going to talk about it. Also, the new schedule, the new schedule for Conference USA has been released. I don't know if I'm the most popular college football reporter, but I've certainly got the best hair in the college football reporting game. Get in, have a take, sound off, and don't suck. The Bearkat Bite podcast is live. I am Fobbs, your reporter, your analyst, the curator, prognosticator of the Bearkat Bites newsletter, the only independent media outlet covering Sam Houston football year around. And you can see all that stuff down in the description. And while you're down in the description of this great video, make sure you buy us a Cat's Coffee. It is a spiked Cat's Coffee. I noticed a few of y'all have bought a little bit more of those Cat's Coffees since I've told y'all that maybe a little something good is in there. It's just $2, but you can always donate more. That goes to the gas so we can go up to Huntsville. That goes so we can go and travel out to some of the games and do all of that stuff. It all goes back to you. You all demanded this. You all said you wanted coverage of Sam Houston football, and happy to give it to you. Hope everyone is having a great Wednesday, midweek madness. Let's get right into it. We'll get to our guys, the 5 stock up players. Who should you put a few coins on? But we're going to talk first about Conference USA's new schedule. Their new schedule. Now, the conference came out. They put out a new schedule. You all can go on Twitter and you can go online and see those. After this came after Louisiana Tech left, right? And was forced to pay a bunch of money. Again, people try to insinuate and say that Conference USA's got, a lot of problems and all this stuff, and they certainly do. There's a lot of stuff you can nitpick. But one thing you can't nitpick is them damn lawyers. One thing that the commissioner, Judy McLeod, figured out was, you know what? We need a strong legal team. And that's how they were able to strong-arm La Tech and get that money out of them. I mean, granted, they signed a grant of rights. They had to do it anyway legally. But, for anything to be enforceable, you got to have some good lawyers. And that's clear. A nice chunk of the budget goes to a good legal team for that conference, for the conference. I think that's where their hidden strength lies in. People are like, how are they still around? This is like the third version of them lawyers. The winner in all of this stuff is billable hours, right? So with that being said, Sam Houston's schedule has changed. They changed it to accommodate the teams that they had, that they were going to face that had La Tech on their schedule. It was kind of assumed that maybe Sam Houston's schedule wouldn't change because they weren't facing La Tech. But, this thing is like Sudoku, man. You put one number here, that number goes there, all of this. It's like Tetris. Sudoku or Tetris, trying to put all this stuff together, right? And that always makes it tricky. So Sam Houston has a new schedule, same teams. Things are flip-flopped a little bit. Things are flip-flopped. Biggest change, there's just one bye. Just one bye week now before all of those conference games. Before what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, before 8 straight conference games. That's going to be tough. Now, it's good that you're having a bye week after Texas Tech. And given what's happening out in Lubbock with Brendan Sorsby, their big $5 million quarterback pickup, he probably won't play this year because he's got a gambling problem. So that kind of affects what's going to happen. That game did not change, right? That game did not change. But there's a bye week right after that trip to Lubbock. And I can't wait till the week of that game. There's so many connections. Mike Leach was there at Texas Tech for so long, a Titan out there on the plains, and Phil Longo, a Leach disciple a lot of ways. He doesn't run a pure air raid, but he runs concepts of it. That's going to be fun to talk to him about in the fall. So you're finishing the season at FIU. You're finishing the season in Miami. That's a little interesting, right? You're finishing the season in Miami. So you open. Let's just kind of run down the schedule, I guess. You open the season at Troy. Now they were a top team in the Sun Belt. You're home for 2 games against Tulsa and Nichols before hitting the road against a team that was a playoff team a season ago at Texas Tech. You've got your bye week. Then you've got your home for Liberty. You're on the road. I'm sorry. You're on the road at Liberty. You've got back-to-back home games against Western Kentucky and New Mexico State. Then 2 road games at Mo State, at Jack State. Woo! Gravy Bowl's always tough, right? Jack State's always tough, even though Sam Houston played them pretty well last year. Then you're home for Kennesaw State, Middle Tennessee, and then on the road at FIU. One thing is, what do y'all think of the schedule? Jump in here. What do y'all think of the schedule? Y'all want to know what I think? Shout out to Sam Houston. They playing all 3 black coaches. All 3 black coaches in the conference. Sam Houston is going to face them. Jerry Mack at Kennesaw State, who won the conference, and they face them all back to back. Then you got Middle Tennessee with Derek Mason, the former Stanford head coach. I'm sorry, the former Stanford assistant, former Vanderbilt head coach, who was able to beat Tennessee. You know, he had Vanderbilt pretty competitive. And then you're at the very resurgent Willie Simmons and FIU down there in Miami in South Florida. That is going to be something. I mean, I think it wouldn't surprise me if FIU wins the conference. If somebody were to ask me today who I think is going to win Conference USA, I got to give it to FIU. I got to give it to FIU. Even in year 1 under Simmons, they look pretty good. Remember, they played Penn State pretty tough. Last year, they played at Penn State pretty tough. They weren't a slouch. And Simmons has a very 1980s approach to how he's building FIU. He has a 1980s Miami approach where anything south of Orlando, that's the state of Miami. And we're going to get those kids if we can. So very interesting. Other odds and ends. Let's see. Whenever I see the Conference USA schedule, I try to see, all right, how many teams, who is facing a team that was a playoff team a season ago? Which of these, where are the playoff matchups based on last year's playoffs? So if we go down the list here, Delaware does not face a playoff team. FIU does not face a playoff team. Jack State, they do not face a playoff team. Neither does Kennesaw. Liberty does. Remember, James Madison snuck on in there last year. They had the right to get the teeth kicked in by Oregon. They had the right to get their teeth kicked in by Oregon last year. So that's a playoff team. And Liberty opens the year at James Madison. So that's pretty interesting. What do we think about that? Middle Tennessee does not face a playoff team. Middle Tennessee secretly, I'd have to look at everybody. I haven't looked at it all holistically. I'm kind of doing it live like that supremacist Bill O'Reilly said. They may have one of the easiest schedules, right? I mean, what is their one? Their Power 4 opponent is Kansas minus Jaden Daniels. Who knows what Kansas is going to look like this year? Missouri State, they play a playoff team when they open at Texas A&M. They open at Texas A&M. They're also going to be on the road at SMU. Remember, SMU really struggled with Mo State last year. Don't forget that. Somehow SMU ended up going to Missouri State and almost lost that game. All right. New Mexico State. Now they've got 0 week at Florida State. Who knows what they're going to look like, right? There's a lot of pressure on Mike Norvell. Man. And then they're at Hawaii. They get to do the fun game. Now they get 2 bye weeks. Remember, because you get the Hawaii, it's what the Hawaii rule or something like that. Like if you go to Hawaii, you get to have a couple byes. Sam Houston got to enjoy that last year. So there's that. Sam Houston, now they face a playoff team, Texas Tech. But again, without their quarterback, and they lost Jacob Rodriguez. They lost oh man, my man that went in the first round. I think he went to the Jets. I want to say, oh, what's his name? The big time defensive end they had. One of y'all may put it there in the comments. But they lost the first round draft pick. They lost Jacob Rodriguez. Who knows what Texas Tech is going to look like? That game might be more interesting than we think. That game might be more interesting than we think. I am debating which game to go to. That is the same weekend that Texas A&M plays at LSU. You know, with the circus that is Lane Kiffin. So, there's a world where I may end up going to that game. My wife is not a New Orleans native, but she went to college there at Xavier University there in New Orleans. So there may be, if she's brave enough to take a day off from her job as a school counselor, we might sneak out to New Orleans and then we might go to Baton Rouge for that game. But oh man, we may or we may go out to Texas Tech in Lubbock. I've never been to Lubbock. I've never been really west of. I mean, I've driven west of San Antonio, but I've never been up to that northwest region in the high plains in Lubbock. So that might be kind of fun to do. And then we got Western Kentucky, who might have the toughest overall schedule. Two of their first three games are against playoff teams. They're all on the road. They're on the road at Nevada to open the year. They're on the road at Georgia, playoff team. They're on the road at Indiana, the national championship. You know what is Kirk C, as I call him? What's old Kirk C gonna have for them? But Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman winner, won't be there. They lost a lot of guys, right? Pat Coogan, their great center, who was the Rose Bowl MVP. He is with the Titans now, and hopefully he'll be a positive part and impact. And then they closed the season at Kennesaw State, who won the conference, as you know. They've got Jacksonville State at home, who's always tough. So there's that. So anybody that's trying to make a conspiracy, I know there were a lot of conspiracy theories last year about Western Kentucky and Liberty. They kind of had it easy to hopefully maybe sneak a Conference USA team into the playoff. That's not going to be the case this year. It's not going to be the case at all. So there is that. What do we think of the Conference USA schedule? Let's see what we got here. Some of these folks are jumping in. I already see some of these. Bailey is that. Okay. Bailey is the D. Oh, okay. I see a couple of comments with people involving Bailey. Bailey. Yeah. Bailey was the guy. You're right. Bailey was the guy from Texas Tech who was the number first round pick this year, who is not going to be there. I mean, maybe he will be there depending on his new team schedule. Maybe he'll be there watching the game. Maybe he'll be there in spirit, but he won't be able to impact anything on the field. So he won't be there. So that was one. We got three Baileys to talk about today, actually. Which leads us into our which leads us into my next topic. Some of the buy low guys. Now, buy low means if you all are in if you all are in the stock market and stuff like that. I've talked to some of you guys about it. When you buy a stock, right? The idea is you spend $1, hopefully 5 years down the road it's worth 20 or whatever, right? But so you're hoping that. So when I say buy low or stock up guys, these are the guys that I think you should put some of your coins on as Sam Houston gets into the latter half of the offseason and into the seasonal part of their part of the calendar. So this is after spring ball. This is based on things that I have seen, that I saw this past Saturday. Now, I was out there with a lot of you braving the heat. I have forgotten how hot it can get, especially working remotely as I do. I've forgotten how hot things can get out there. But we were all out there. I made notes. We talked to a couple of coaches. We talked to Phil Longo, talked to Freddie Autry-Lindsay. So here's some of the guys that I think are worth putting some stock into. Do I want to do this with some of y'all? Some of y'all know who. I'm just going to click on it. Yep. Let me take a sip of water because I got some stuff to say. I would say based on what we saw, DJ Bailey is definitely a stock up guy. DJ Bailey came in, slimmed down a little bit. DJ Bailey looked nimble. DJ Bailey threw a long ball, and he was accurate on Saturday. I was oh gosh, hold on. I got my footstool on here. My dang footstool messed up. Let me make sure it's good. Okay, good. I was very pleasantly surprised. Very pleasantly surprised from what we had seen from DeSoto native DJ Bailey. Longo raved about in the, well, not post game, but post scrimmage, whatever you want to call it, in our post whatever there was interview about how Bailey was doing well. He throws a long ball. There have been rumblings within the program that, hey, give this guy a chance. And I'm an Aggie, and I remember this was the summer before Johnny Manziel. A lot of y'all remember Johnny football. There was so much, it seemed like a foregone conclusion that this guy, Jamil Showers, was going to be the starter. It seemed like a foregone conclusion. But Kevin Sumlin, who was the head coach at the time, I remember it was like a few days before the first game, and it was announced that Johnny Manziel was going to be the starter. It's like, who is this guy, Johnny Manziel? What? And he came out and balled out, The man came out and balled out. Could we be heading for a similar situation? I'm not sure. We talk with Longo about the quarterbacks. He's very excited about the room overall. I will say that compared to last year, this is a much higher quality quarterback room. All of these guys are capable of doing what are capable of what Phil Longo wants from a quarterback. He wants to run the offense a certain way, and he's going to have 5 guys who could probably do it. Last year, I don't think he had 5 guys who could do that. It was debatable how many guys he had who could actually run the offense, right? But Bailey, if I had to start somebody today, if you're asking me based on what I saw, I put Bailey out there. I put Bailey out there today based on what I saw. All we can do is go off of what we've seen, right? All we can do is go off of what we've seen, and he looked a lot better. My sources have said that Landon Locke, a lot of people's projected starter, has struggled all spring. He's a bit more conservative than Bailey. It's a lot more of the mental part. Longo talked about that. Locke had more of the mental piece, right? But you can also take that to mean maybe he's overthinking it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's good to just go out there and play. So Bailey looked good. Bailey definitely looked good. So hopefully what you hope is, in the purest competition sense, is that it is an open quarterback race in the fall. Now, a lot of times coaches will have an idea of who they want, and they're just going to stick with that. You know what I'm saying? Fellas, y'all know that. It's like, this woman may want you. This one right here, she going to be loyal to you. But then, you fixated on this one. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason. We've all been there. I'm raising my hand. I've been there. Hey, one thing, and hopefully you all know this by now. We've done this about 2 years. You all know I'm not going to be here and lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you all. You know what I'm saying? It be like that sometimes. I wish I could have interviewed Bailey. I tried to interview him. He ran inside already to get some treatment. I guess the only other question I would have for him is, if you made these improvements, if you think you're that good, and it showed, did he ever consider a transfer? That's the only question that I am left with, is, did he consider a transfer? Now, I know that Longo convinced him to stay, and Longo's a quarterback's guy. If you stay with Longo, you're going to learn how to play. Drake May is tearing it up with the Patriots. One of his quarterbacks went to a Super Bowl. Sam Howell was one of his guys. Longo knows how to coach quarterbacks. So, I'm sure that was a factor in him remaining. But, there are plenty of examples of, if it's that tough for you to start at this program, or to make it happen, I mean, the transfer portal is a thing now. And that's why I like the transfer portal for these guys. For fans, it kind of stinks because you don't get to know the players as much. They're not there for 3 to 4 years anymore. But it's good for the players because what used to happen was if you ended up in a bad situation, you had to stay and you're pretty much stuck. And if you transferred, you had to sit out for a minute, right? Every Golston, I think when he went to transfer to Florida State was like that. He had to sit out a whole year. You ain't got to do that no more. You can just hop over and start. Again, A&M Aggie here. I'm using the example of Connor Wigman. Now, some of you all who follow college football know Connor Wigman, 5-star guy who came out of Bridgeland, out by where my dad is based out of in Northwest Houston. We're on the other side in the Northeast. And it just didn't look good with Jim Bum Fisher, right? It looked horrible. He looked like a guy who, like a lot of people said with Bailey, like, how is this guy starting? Like, it didn't look good. There were questions. There were off the field questions, all this stuff that's, the stuff that starts coming up when you're not living, quote, up to expectations. That's what was happening. But thanks to the transfer portal, he got tired of that, ended up transferring closer to home at University of Houston, and Willie Fritz, the coach, that just unleashed him. You know what I'm saying? And there's examples of that, of these guys going to these teams all across college football and tearing it up. Trinidad Chambliss, Division II guy. Trinidad Chambliss, where did he come from? Out of nowhere, Ferris State. And now the guy's got 7-figure NIL deal with Ole Miss, So I do wonder about that. That's the only question I'm left with. And it becomes, for me, an even bigger question because Bailey did look so good, in there. So I always wonder that, but you never really know the full story. You never really know what all is going on with the guy. Always take that with a grain of salt. And it's not criticism. It's not a critique. It's an honest question. Another guy from A&M who didn't look great, Zach Calzada. Zach Calzada, poor guy. He was always getting injured under Jim Bum Fisher. Poor guy. And he ends up going to FCS with Incarnate Word, and he's tearing it up. He tears it up, right? And he has, I believe Calzada signed with a Canadian Football League team. So he's got opportunities at the next level, so you're able to transfer now in today's world and create an opportunity for yourself. And I just wonder, had Bailey ever, did he ever consider it? That's what I was going to ask Saturday. I'm disappointed in myself for not getting to him on time, and finding that out. But, we could do woulda, coulda, shoulda radio here all day. We could do a woulda, coulda, shoulda podcast. We don't do that here. And Michael Beasley said this on a podcast recently. The past never happened. Tomorrow's never coming. We're right here. Right here today, DJ Bailey is a quarterback in the Sam Houston quarterback room. And if he's given an honest shot to compete and push Landon Locke, A, it's going to be a fun quarterback race. And B, he's based on what I saw, he's got a chance to win it. Now, you've got two younger guys and a walk-on. Longo talked about them. Mason Holtzclaw. You got one other, the name escapes me. And then you got to walk on. So this, like I said, there's going to be 5. Who knows what that mix is going to be and all that stuff. But right now, to me, if it's an open and honest race, Bailey has a chance. So that's something to keep an eye on, man. I think I only got $5 in my pocket right now. I do a podcast, right? I'm broke. I think I got like a few singles right here. So if I got 5 singles, I'll take 2.5 and put on Bailey. That might turn into $20 by the time we get to November. I'll do that. You know what I'm saying? So that is one guy. That's definitely one guy to keep an eye on. Another guy, now the third Bailey we're going to talk about, Tyler Bailey. I really thought Tyler Bailey looked good in the spring game. He had a couple of nice plays. And when you talk to Freddie Autry-Lindsay, you talk to Phil Longo, he's a guy whose name keeps coming up. A lot of times, these are very limited sample sizes that the media is able to see. You're not there every day in practice. You're not there in the film room and stuff. We're taking these small sample sizes. And that's why we always ask the coach, who's a standout? Who's somebody that you're seeing doing well? Tyler Bailey's name came up a couple of times. And so he's definitely somebody. He's there in the secondary, moved over from offense last year, took his lumps. Now, when you've been playing one position for a while and you're asked to play another one, you know what I'm saying, with a brand new head coach, you don't get to play no games at home. All of this stuff, that makes it tough. And it showed. Bailey and the entire secondary, they spent most of that first season under Longo struggling, right? But he looks more comfortable in coverage. Maybe he takes over a little bit of the role CJ Brown had, where he's going to drop down a little bit and help out and run support. This is going to be a very improved secondary for Sam Houston, and I think Bailey is going to be a big part of that. So he's from out there in Prosper, where Deion Sanders got some property apparently. I've been out there in Prosper. We went out to Prosper last year. Very nice place. Very nice area up there in the DFW area, right? Maybe we'll get out there this year. I don't know. Who knows? And then another guy, Brock Stooks, the offensive lineman Brock Stooks. He's another name that came up. And I'm happy that Brock Stooks' name came up. Well, not me being happy. Let me say that if you are a fan observer, you should be happy. I'm the reporter. I'm the neutral reporter here. So let me say, if you're a fan, you're a fanatic, and you should be. There's nothing wrong with, having undying love for your college football program. If you are a fan and you want to see an improved offensive line, Brock Stooks is your guy. Longo said that he and Isaac Soin had emerged as leaders in that room. Now, Isaac Soin went down with some sort of injury towards the end of the spring scrimmage, but Brock Stooks made it out healthy. This is a guy that is 6'3", 320 pounds, NCAA transfer, spent a little time there at NC State. So a lot of the Carolina-based, but the coaching staff for Sam Houston, many of whom hail from North Carolina, and they cut their teeth there. They brought down Brock Stooks using some of their connections. Longo wanted the transfer portal. A big part of the transfer portal was beefing up that offensive line, beefing up that defensive line. And so Stooks is one of those guys who has stood out. He's a transfer that's looking good. That's what you want. When all these guys are signed in the offseason and we're making guesses of how they're going to be, and, here's the high end of what it could be, Stooks looks like he's trending towards the higher end. This overall is going to be a bigger offensive line. And oh, by the way, and I saw the offensive line pulling. I saw a right guard. Actually, you don't just do this in front of you. You're actually going to, right guard, left guard. I'm sorry. Wait, let me see. Yeah, left guard. I'm sorry. I saw some of the guards pulling. My bad. I hadn't seen that all last year. And if you are a fan of Sam Houston, it should have made you shed a damn tear, because it looks like there's going to be a more diverse blocking scheme for this offense. And Longo, who has said this offense is only going to go as far as that offensive line takes them, they look good. Coco Brown looked good behind them. A couple of the running backs looked good behind them. The freshmen did as well. So that is all good. That is all a positive. If you are a Sam Houston fan. Let's see what we got here. Brett Holloway. Yes. Brett Holloway, the other quarterback. Yeah, that's the other quarterback that's going to join Bailey and Locke and Holtzclaw and all those guys there in the Sam Houston quarterback room. Thank you. Shout out to General Sam, one of the OGs here, one of the long timers. Another guy. We're going to go back to the secondary now. We'll bounce around a little bit here. Another guy, second to last guy here. I got 5, so this is my 4th one. Ishmael Atkins, Elon transfer. Now, some of you all were worried. He's coming up from FCS. How is he going to look? Does his game transfer? I was more worried about, Ishmael is a big body. Yeah, he's 6'3", 195 pounds. But how well does the guy move? How well does he move in space? We've seen these big, slow, lanky guys, and it don't look good. It don't look good, right? Not the case with Ishmael. Couple of times I saw him with some very nice coverage. And that was coverage that I did not see from the corners last year. I mean, and you can go back to the Jacksonville State game last season. I mean, any mirrored the games, but that one stands out to me where they were just pretty much running the same damn plays with their wide receivers, and they were just open. FIU kind of blew the lid off of that. FIU kind of really blew the lid off of it, where the corners were like 2 to 3 yards behind their wide receiver. It can't happen. I didn't see that in the spring game. And Ishmael Atkins is one of those guys. Again, Phil Longo, he was a name that came up as well. There were a few names that kept coming up, and I'm like, okay. That's always what I try to notice. I remember last year, Dylan Frazier, some of y'all can go back to last year. I had said Dylan Frazier was a stock-up guy as we entered the season. And the guy ended up having 10 sacks against somehow against Oregon State. And we were out there for that game, if you recall. So always be listening for those names that keep coming up. Ishmael Atkins is one of them. Again, he, along with an experienced Tyler Bailey, that's going to be a very improved Sam Houston secondary. Braylon Wortham is there in the mix as well. So you should be very excited. For my money, the defensive backs are the most improved. Now, it was a tie for me between them and the defensive line. I would probably give the edge to the defensive backs. That's not a knock on the front seven, but if the front seven was here last year, and if the front seven was here last year, and now they're here, dude, the defensive backs were somewhere you can't even see where I'm pointing, and now they're here, right? So the bar for improvement was a lot lower for the defensive backs. You all saw it, but they look improved. And that's what you want to see. Right? What do you guys think? Who should be some of your stock up guys? Who am I missing? Who's somebody that say, hey, Lane, if you got like 25 cents, put that on there. That might become $5 by November. Come on, fellow dollionaires. And then finally, for my money, Derek Bledsoe out of the slot. Oh, Derek Bledsoe. Phil Longo is excited about the entire wide receiver room, but he continually mentioned how the slot receivers, they kind of mismatched some of those guys together and put them in. Derek Bledsoe is a guy who has improved. Derek Bledsoe is a guy that showed a lot of talent, that showed a lot of ability to be the guy coming out of the slot, right? He looked fast. He got his open spots. He had a touchdown or two. Hold on. We're gonna take this call live. Hey, babe, I'm talking to some of the observers. I'm here on the podcast.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm fine.
That's all right. Do you want to stay on and listen?
Sure.
All right, guys. So wifey's gonna stay on right there. She's gonna stay on right there and listen. All right. So sorry, guys. I cannot talk about my plan to just have her drop me off at the airport when she's pregnant to visit South Florida. Sorry about that. We can't talk about that today, guys. But getting back on topic, I thought Derek Bledsoe did a really good job. I thought a lot of the wide receivers did a great job. I know Tim Burns was a little upset at one point because he didn't have a lot of targets. I'll throw Tim Burns in there too. Tim Burns showed improvement as well. And you know why? Even without a catch, because I saw Tim Burns get open. I saw all of the wide receivers get open in space. And again, that's not something that we saw last year. There was that report about how Phil Longo's offense was very simplistic. because it was basically, hey, wide receivers get open. Now, I referenced this once or twice, but there's a book called The Perfect Pass, and it talks about how the air raid came to be, right? And it's basically predicated on wide receivers playing off of the defense. So if you got a defensive back that's playing far back and he's inside, then you need to do a short pass and hook outside, right? Get open. That's basically what the air raid is. Now, Phil Longo, again, he doesn't run a pure air raid, but he runs a lot of the concepts. And one of those concepts is, hey, play off the defense and get open. Now, it looks good when you got receivers. Now, remember, now when Mike Leach was running it, he had Wes Welker, Michael Crabtree, all these guys who knew how to get open. They didn't really have that last year, right? So it didn't look as good. When your guys aren't getting open, the plan doesn't look as great. But it is a sound plan. That plan is sound. You can win with that. This is not a question of running a poor plan. They had some poor wide receivers. A lot of that was the wide receivers coach, Keon Williams. He did not start his job until deep into the summer. So you've already got a new guy, new head coach, new wide receivers coach, new receivers, and it looked like that, right? This is now a wide receiver room that has had Keon Williams for a full year. They have brought in guys, Elijah Cason, Kamari Maxwell, all these guys, in addition to the Tim Burnses, the Grady O'Neals, the Derek Bledsoes. This is good. This is a great, pretty solid wide receiver room. And you can tell Longo's pretty excited about them. He said that is the room that has excited him the most offensively, right? So those are some of my guys that I have picked. Who do you all have? Get in and sound off and don't suck. Because all right, comment now. Because if you comment later, afterwards in the comments on YouTube, first of all, I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone listening, but we won't be live. I can't react to your comments if you don't put them right here in the comments section. And you can put whatever. You can put whatever. We just have healthy debates, man. We got Dash Different here. DJ Bailey should be the quarterback. I will say this. Dash Different is not the only person in and around observing or a part of Sam Houston football that feels that way. Dash Different is not the only person that feels that way. That's all I will put. Again, if I had to start a game today, if you came to me and said, hey, Sam Houston's going to play Troy tomorrow, come on, Lane, put somebody in, if this unlikely scenario happened, I would probably put in Bailey based on what I saw, right? Now, again, this is without me being there in practice all the time and seeing all that stuff, but I would put in Bailey right now. The good thing is with Longo, it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have when you got some guys who can come out and play like that. And again, if it's going to be an open and honest contest, it's going to be fun. You're going to have a good quarterback contest. It's not going to be like last year. Yeah, there was a quarterback contest, but yeesh, the quality of the participants wasn't good. It's like if you're playing Wheel of Fortune and then, can't nobody solve the dang puzzle. Everybody just standing there. Now they got some people that know the puzzles. All they got to have is a couple of T's, a vowel or two up there, and they can solve the whole damn thing, right? Let's see what else we got. Joey Hunter looked pretty good. Former South Carolina Memphis transfer. Yeah. Okay. Joey Hunter. Okay. Let's see. Joey Hunter, Akron, Memphis, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia guy. He's another bigger defensive back, right? He's another bigger defensive back that's a part of them. So when we started the defensive back room, remember when we started that defensive back room and we were tracking where all the Bearcats went, who had come in, I told y'all, it's like, dude, I'm not even about to attack this. Some of y'all were asking me, what did you think about the defensive backs during the spring, what they signed? And I said, dude, I don't know. I don't even know. I'm not about to sit there and figure that out because there were so many names. And it's just like, woo-wee, I ain't finna mess with that. But now that we've had a spring, some of these guys have emerged, and it's pretty good. It's looked pretty good, right? It's looked pretty good. So Joey Hunter's in there, like I said, Atkins, Bailey, and I'm sure there'll be another guy that we don't see, right? Another guy, General Sam, who you're excited about, Caden Wingfield. Okay, now that's the freshman. That is the freshman out of Aledo. A lot of you all were excited about him when he was signed. A lot of you all were excited about him, and yeah, he did look good. He did look good. He was one of my just missed the cut guys. He was one of my just missed the cut guys. What I was trying to aim for were guys who maybe weren't all the way talked about during the spring, and they kind of broke out. You know, it was a balance. It was a balance that I was trying to do when I did my 5 names. So if you guys have names, that's why I reached out. That's why I'm asking you all here in the comments. Feel free to put who you want, because it's all fair game right now. But yeah, I did like what Caden Wingfield did. I did. I like what he did. He had a couple of nice runs, man. He was a standout. And of course, my boy Coco Brown. Of course, the big homie Coco Brown, right? And then you like Zion Taylor? Let's see. And Taylor at running back? Or which Taylor? Which Taylor did you like? Did you like Zion Taylor? Or did you like, let's see. Let's make sure. A lot of guys with last names here. Let's see. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. I've got a couple of things here. Let's see. You like? Are you saying you like Zion Taylor? The Houston transfer who is 6'1", 230. Is that who you're saying you liked? Trey Taylor. Okay. There's so many Taylors. Yeah, we got to make sure. Because it did say Wingfield and Taylor at running back. But I'm just making sure. Yeah. Trey Taylor looked good too. The entire, I thought last year that the running backs were obviously the strongest part of the offense last year, which wasn't saying much, right? Because they didn't do a lot, but a lot of what they were not able to do was a product of the offensive line, which took a long time to gel. And even when they quote gelled, it was nowhere near where it needed to be. So this year it was easy for the running backs to get overlooked, right? It was easy for that because even last year they said, Zach Marker, the offensive coordinator, said, yeah, I got 5 guys in this room who can play. And now it looks like this year they've got the same thing. And it's going to look even better because they've got the benefit of an offensive line who actually block and create holes for these guys. So yeah, Trey Taylor looked good. Trey Taylor looked good too. Wingfield, Taylor, Brown, did McCaskill? I feel like McCaskill had a good run. Maybe I'm memory holding that. Maybe that's some Mandela effect. I'm not sure. But yeah, those 3 running backs for sure. That is that's really what you want to see. So that really helps them. That helps you control the clock. That helps open things up downfield for your quarterback. All sorts of good things happen when that running back room is rocking and rolling and cooking, right? So get excited. Get excited about that. Fans have every reason to be excited about that. Who else? Who else you got? Lay somebody else on me. We'll go here. We'll go for about 5 more minutes or so. Excuse me. Who else you guys got that might be a standout? I thought the defensive line looked pretty solid. Zion on D, the transfer from Houston. Here we go. Yeah. Yes. Zion Taylor. Yeah. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked pretty good too. Those defensive ends with Zion Taylor, Brody Henderson, who came back and got bigger. It's like, man, for the first thing that I noticed when I got to the stadium that day and I took my pictures of Neubauer Stadium that everybody has, I had to do that and post it and all that stuff. I know the first thing that I saw, like, damn, this is a much bigger team. They look big in a good way, not big and fat, but big. look good getting off the bus, as they say. And Taylor is one of the faces of that. That was very, very interesting. So I thought that was something. So very, very, very good observation. So let's see who we got here. Let's see who else we got here. You thought let's see. You thought Darian Jackson looked pretty good? Okay. Let's see. Darian Jackson looked a lot quicker. Yeah. Stronger, faster, and then quicker. That's the thing. That is a product of getting more in shape. Because if you're Sam Houston, that's going to be your secret sauce, right? Getting those guys faster, getting those guys stronger, because you're not gonna have tons of 5 stars and all this other stuff, right? Well, they just roll the ball out there and off you go. So the fact that you're seeing this defensive line look faster, that's a product of offseason development. That's a product of doing some better conditioning. And Longo talked about that, how, all throughout spring, the energy did not dissipate. A lot of times that can happen. You're out there in the heat. You've been hitting the same dude all day. You've been running the same play all day. It gets here. But he did not see a drop off. And when I talked with Freddie Autry-Lindsey, the defensive coordinator, that's really the main thing that he's looking for the rest of the offseason. Because I asked him, like, what's the biggest thing you want to see? And he said, we got the physical part. And Jackson looking faster. Zion Taylor, who I dash different mentioned, that's a product of the physical. Now he wants to see the mental, in game situations. If you got if you got a guy split out wide, where do you need to be as the safety, right? If you're reading the quarterback's eyes, what do you need to do, right? If the offensive line split a certain way, are you going to try to get inside of them or outside? All of that type of stuff is what is going to be the next evolution, really, of the entire program, right? As they get into the season, but specifically the guys you all mentioned on defense. And so, it looked good. Slightly concerning, maybe. There's not a lot of linebackers to talk about. And Jameer Diaz left. Your best one left, right? And he only played 4 games, and he was probably still your best. Even though D Ford emerged, a couple other guys emerged, right? But and Tavius Fish left, transferred. So if there was any concerning thing, it was the fact that a lot of linebackers were not mentioned, right? But we just talked about Tyler Bailey. Maybe he drops down and helps, and Autry-Lindsey's talked about that. He wants to have a flex secondary, that can do a lot of stuff. So that, your linebackers can always be offset if you got a safety that can come down, if you've got a defensive line that's doing well. Those things can be offset. So let's see what happens there. General Sam, your biggest takeaway. We got a couple more minutes here. I liked how they were seeing true depth. Yeah. And you all heard it. Some of y'all who follow me on Twitter at Fobs Talking Ball, you all heard it from Freddie Autry-Lindsey. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Like, what's been the biggest difference? Depth. And he said it without thinking. Depth. They've got depth at every level of defense, right? And according to him, according to the coach, right? So that's a positive. That's a big positive because a guy, it's football. A guy or two is gonna get hurt. It's always next man up. Can the next man up be a solid replacement guy? Right. So that's a good takeaway. That's a great observation. That is a great observation. Just the fact that they have a much more well-rounded, a much more robust program from everybody, from the quarterback down to the place kicker. I think I guess Tate Ryan, the guy of the Woodlands, I guess, going to be your kicker. We didn't get to see any punts, special teams. I was looking forward to some of that, because Chris Gerard's gone. So I was looking forward to seeing some of that, but we didn't. But that is what it is. We saw a few kicks. Tate Ryan can kick it. I would start him as my kicker for those of y'all interested in special teams and things like that. And special team, it was a bit shaky last year, even though Christian Pavon did improve. He improved last year. He stuck with it, got a lot better. But I think it's going to be a lot more consistency from the kicking game this year. I think you're going to have a lot more consistency this year. Just overall, I'm not ready to quite talk about Sam Houston's record. We might talk about that next week or in the coming weeks. But overall, you got to feel good. Definitely based off of last year, based off of what we saw for that 2-win season last year, you got to feel pretty good. Another thing what I saw from Sam Houston was, and this is my final thought, was just the overall excitement from the fans and observers. Now, I thought that it was a pretty good spring game as far as attendance, as far as fan interest. People were engaged. Now we had a couple of trolls on Twitter and talking about there weren't that many people and stuff like that. Let me tell you something. I went to A&M spring game on the 18th. There weren't a ton of people there either. It wasn't like on a Saturday where Kyle Field is all filled up. I mean, it wasn't even enough to fill the lower bowl. So, that's not necessarily a product of anything, but for this program, and Longo talked about it, and especially considering that you only had 2 wins last year, the excitement is still palpable. That is a credit to Longo, keeping the community engaged, keeping the Bearcats engaged. That's a credit to the families of the team, obviously. That's just a credit to the Bearcats themselves, and I think it's good that they're building Bowers Stadium the way they are, because students, and when I got there, even on Saturday, I saw a couple students walking by and turning, looking at the stadium. When you're building that stadium right there where everyone's walking by, that is a free advertisement saying, hey, by the way, this fall, it's going to be football. We're not going to be playing in that dump stadium in Houston anymore. We're not going to be playing the bowels of downtown Houston with all the smog and corruption. Some of y'all ran into a crackhead or two down there. That ain't going to be the case. That's not going to be the case. It is a living advertisement saying there will be football played in Huntsville again, as it should happen naturally, right? So just the excitement and the energy I thought was really good, because I really wasn't sure how it was going to be, to be honest with you. I wasn't too sure. That was one thing I was looking for. So overall, a good, this is a great mid off-season checkpoint for the team. And you got to be feeling okay. But like I said, so rest of the offseason looks like this. We will talk about the schedule now that I didn't want to really start guessing at wins and all of that, because I knew that after La Tech left, there would be another schedule, and there it is. And we'll talk about, we'll get into the offensive line a little more too, because Longo had a couple things to say about them. Couple of interesting notes and stuff that we'll have for you guys. I don't know if we'll do team by team. I don't know if we'll go team by game preview. A lot. That was some of our lowest rated stuff that we did last year. You guys weren't really interested in too much, it seemed like, with what was going on across the line with the opposition, right? We'll try to keep it focused more on Sam Houston, unless it's something big, right? Unless it's something big. So we'll definitely talk about all of that. And then there'll be other surprises over the next few months. Because what is this? I mean, effectively, when we meet next week here, it'll be May, June, July. So we got about 3-ish months until Conference USA football kickoff in Dallas, right? Now, we don't know when the dates are. I haven't heard back from the conference. We'll talk to the players and coaches there. And then before you know it, it'll be August, and off you go. Before you know it, you'll be heading to Alabama facing Troy. So off we go. But as always, I thank you guys for listening. I thank you guys for being here. Even the folks that agree, even the folks that disagree, we have our back and forth. And as I've told y'all before, when we when we evaluate the team, when we critique the team, you know, these are men. They can take it, right? And as long as you ain't calling nobody's mama fat, you know, you good, which means not making personal attacks. If you're confused and you can't do that, you don't need to be a media observer, right? There's a difference between critiquing and insulting. And shout out to all of you. All you guys do here is critique. You guys critique. You all bring your thoughts. This is a very, a somewhat classy band of people. No. But seriously though, intelligent. Watch it, and this is great. This has always been great, and we're gonna be here all off season. We'll be here into the fall, all of that stuff. We'll start making our fall plans now. Now that we have the official schedule, we'll start making our fall plans to see what games we'll go to, and we got 4 months, right? We got 4 months. So I got 4 months to have my wife drop me off at in Miami and drink. I will show up drunk in Miami covering a middling football team. But anyway, guys, thank y'all for listening. We'll see y'all next time. All college football is good college football. Take care. Be blessed.